joining us now via Zoom from Finland, where it's past 11 o'clock at night, so we appreciate him staying up late. It's been a while since I've seen him. Looking great as always, Michael Monroe. Good to see you, buddy.
Thank you. Great to see you too, Eddie. Thanks for having me.
Anytime. We've been emailing a little bit back and forth about your great new record, and I was saying to you, I was thinking about it. I said, well, I don't know, with the time difference, sometimes people don't like to do interviews in America until they're in America. But then I reached out to you. I said, hey, do you want to do something? And you were willing to do it. And I got to tell you, congrats on another incredible record. I Live Too Fast to Die Young. It's right here. I've been listening to it, loving it. It's phenomenal, man. You've been on an incredible run making music. Tell me about putting this one together.
Thank you. Yeah, well, this one I wanted to try something different, and we went to a different new studio at a place in Helsinki called Inkfish, and the engineer this guy he mixed me up for a solo album, and I was interested in working with him, and I met up with him, and it was he had a good vision, and it was a conscious risk I took. Went into a new studio, new engineer, and a new environment, and we really paid off. We renewed the band's sound, production-wise, arrangement-wise, song-wise, and sound-wise in the best possible way. So there's a lot of variety. I mean, we had like 34 songs last summer to choose from, and I always try to go for the 10, 11, 12, 13 at the most to keep it short. And this just became a great entirety. We got 11 tracks all together for the album. It's a perfect amount, and it's the kind of record you want to hear again after you heard it. And it really turned out even better than I expected. I think really the sound is more. It has more air and more dynamics, and it's somehow more pleasant to listen to. Everything's not on 11 all the time. It's got more depth to it, and a lot of different types of songs that we haven't done before with this band. So it's really refreshing. I'm quite pleased with it. Really, really happy with the way this turned out. And it's appropriate. I just turned 60 on June 17th, and it's too late to die young now. I live too fast to die young.
Well, you look amazing for 60 years old. That's incredible. How did you feel about that landmark turning 60? I'm a couple years away from it. I'm starting to shake a little bit just thinking about it, Michael. But how did you do turning 60?
Oh, it ain't nothing. It's great. I feel better than ever. I mean, I had the best birthday. We were touring. The album came out on June 10th, and we went on tour in Europe with. We were opening for Alice Cooper on the 7 shows, and that was the best time I had. On my birthday, actually, we were playing in Germany in a city called Zwickau, and opened for Alice. And then, as many other nights, Alice invited me up to sing "School's Out," the second verse of "School's Out" with him. And this time, he invited me he knew it was my birthday, so he invited me up to sing "School's Out," and then he handed me a sword. But he pops the balloons with the confetti inside, during the "School's Out." So he gave me my own sword, so I could pop the balloons. I always wanted to do that. And then at the end of the song, he introduced the band and everybody. Then he had this guy, Kyler, his assistant, who was dressed up like the Hunchback of Notre Dame, comes up with a birthday cake with candles and lit up. And then Alice sang "Happy Birthday" to me with the audience, sang "Happy Birthday" to me. And I was like, whoa, this is the best birthday ever. So that was like, people ask me, what's your highlight, from the 80s, or what was the best times? And this is the best time of my life. And that's one of the highlights of my career, I think. When Alice Cooper singing "Happy Birthday" to me with the audience in Germany, that was really, can't really top that. So I'm happy than never.
No, that'll be a tough one to beat. And I say this all the time to my friends. It's like, I don't know. I believe in seeing you and the spirit and the energy you have, and having seen you live in recent years, and how great the band is and how great you still are. I believe firmly that what we do and our love for this music really does keep us young and keep us youthful. Even if it some creaks when you wake up in the morning, you still have that attitude and that feel about it. And look at a guy like Alice, who's probably 15 years older than you, and how great he still is. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's better than ever. It's a great inspiration. I mean, he told me, he says, Michael, you're only 60. It's nothing. He's 74. He's 74. He says, I'm 74 and I'm feeling better than ever. And he is. And the show is phenomenal. It's better than ever. It's really, everybody should see the Alice Cooper show at least once in their lives. And Alice is amazing. And it's a
Yeah.
sweetheart. It was really a great pleasure and privilege to do these shows. And in the end of it all, he gave me this switchblade, this
Oh,
cool,
wow.
check it out, with a pearl handle and everything. It's like, and
Yeah.
this was the cool. I mean, the switchblades. All right, people say, "Oh yeah, what's so cool about a switchblade?" Yeah, if Alice Cooper gives you a switchblade, then it's cool, man. So this is
Yeah.
I get from him, and also I turned him on to some harmonicas. I had, from Japan. This is Suzuki harmonicas that I noticed he plays the harp on a couple of songs, and he so I gave him a harp from that I had, these Suzuki harps, and he said, wow, it sounds great, much clearer and louder than the one he was using. He was using one of those old Hohner ones. So I was happy to be able to give something back, because Alex he's given me so much. And 50 years before, I mean, there's a picture of me in 10 years old when I have Alice Cooper record on my lap, and I posted that picture on my birthday. Said, I could never imagine 50 years before this, when I was 10 years old, an Alice Cooper fan, that Alice would be singing "Happy Birthday" to me one day in Germany with the audience. Life is amazing. Life is wonderful, and rock and roll does keep you young. It's about your attitude. It's
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
And Alice is a wonderful person too, as you know. I mean, I took my son to see him a few years ago, and he had us come back, and he actually gave my son a signed harmonica, that he had. He had one, and he gave it to him. So I told my son, I said, you don't understand how important this is, but hold on to it, and one day you'll understand what just happened to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got these knives too. One of them he's signed. These are the ones he uses on stage.
Oh, wow.
Like, he had a dartboard in the backstage, and I was like, "What do you play? Do you throw darts?" No, target practice. He said, I'll teach you too, how to throw knives.
Yeah.
He is the coolest,
Well,
and his image is what it is. When you meet him, he's the sweetest, kindest, most kind-hearted person you ever meet, and polite, and so cool that I love him to death.
Did he tour? Did he tour? Yeah, no pun there. Did he tour? Michael, when you were playing, when you were a kid growing up in Finland, did Alice Cooper come there and play early on? Did you see the early shows?
No, I never. I wish I had, but I loved all the albums. I mean, from "Love You to Death" was one of the first albums I got as a kid, and I totally loved him from then on. But they never played in Finland. He did come to do some promotion in '74 when the "Muscle of Love" album came out. He came to do promotion, and apparently he came to taste the Finnish beer, because it was back then. He doesn't. Later on, he told me doesn't even remember being in Finland that time. But I was a little kid, and I knew the hotel he was staying at. Me and some kids from my backyard, and we went to hang out outside the hotel, and he was staying at a suite on the top floor, and he threw some posters down, and he was doing interviews and stuff. And then he showed up downstairs. He was taken up. There was a limo outside, and then all of a sudden he was downstairs with a beer in his hand, with black leather pants and black leather jacket, and looking so cool. And then he came out, and there's a bunch of people like trying to reach out to him. And all of a sudden he was next to me. I was like, wow. So I patted him on the back. And I said, now I can say I touched Alice Cooper. And then he got into the limo, and some girl gave him like a pen and paper, and he just sat there with the pen and paper, and then the limo took off. But I told the story to him later on. I said, yeah, I touched you then. And I thought, like, wow, I touched Alice Cooper. Cool. Now we're friends, It's amazing.
Yeah, no, and of course, Alice has had such a huge influence on so many, yourself included. But you yourself have had a huge influence on a lot of artists and music that came out, starting with the early years of Hanoi Rocks and some of the bands that took so much from what you guys did and ran with it, and whether it was the look or the sound or what have you. What was it for you, Michael, that shaped you beyond Alice Cooper and the early years of Hanoi Rocks to become Michael Monroe? Like, what is Michael Monroe the blueprint of? Like, where did it all come from for you?
Well, there's all kinds of things. I mean, Little Richard, I discovered the Stones, and Little Richard, and Little Richard, the Rolling Stones, to the Ramones, and blues and funk and reggae. I like all kinds of music. And when I was a kid, there was Finnish. There were no genres that much. There wasn't even a term. Heavy metal didn't even exist back then. There was only like records. Led Zeppelin second album was I got that. My father bought that for. He probably just went to the record store and asked the clerk what kids are listening to those days, and I was like, Fireball was my first album I
Deep
owned.
Purple.
Deep Purple, Fireball. Yeah, Deep Purple,
Yeah.
Fireball, and Black Sabbath. I mean, I saw Black Sabbath on TV. Believe it or not, that was when I was, I come from a musical family. My grandfather was a cello player. His father was an oboe player. My mother's musical too. She worked at the radio. But I took piano lessons when I was 5. My mother made me. And then I saw Black Sabbath live in Paris in 1970 on TV. We had a black and white TV, and I was like a little kid, 8 years old, and I saw that, and I was like, "Whoa, what's this?" And Ozzy Osbourne going nuts, long hair, wild and free and crazy, and I said, "Wow, that is something else." And I really got it. Then I said, I got their record, and I said, "Mom, can I start taking piano lessons?" I realized that music, I could play a Black Sabbath song on the piano, down, 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 and I was learning guitar and stuff, and they had all kinds of music in record shops. So I got into. I'm really open-minded about it. I like all kinds of music, and rock and roll, of course, my closest to my heart. But took the influences from various artists, and Little Richard was the king of rock and roll. I could say now that Little Richard's gone. Isn't Alice Cooper the king of hard rock and roll? Alice Cooper, pretty much.
Yeah, yeah. I never thought about that, but you might be right. I mean, I was talking earlier, and Alice predates Aerosmith, but before you came on the air, I was talking about Aerosmith because they just started up again. And I
Oh,
just had friends that went to they did a 50th anniversary show in Boston. And I had friends of mine that were there, and they said Steven Tyler, who is now 75, 76, is, as far as American artists are concerned, may be the greatest living frontman singer that we still have. I mean, he's ridiculous still, even after all he's been through.
he is definitely one of the ultimate, absolute greatest. He's incredible singer. He's always in his pitch is always perfect, and he sings so high. It's incredible. I mean, I've seen him quite a few times, and some years ago I saw them in Vilna in Estonia. They were. I mean, he's hitting the high notes, and it's incredible. He's one of the greatest. I mean, he was also, he also influenced me, and I mean, I had I must say, one great feather in my cap when Les Paul's 75th birthday at the Hard Rock Cafe in New York. I came home one night, and I had a message on my answering machine from Steven Tyler. I'd never met him before, and he had just met my old sound guy, Night Bob, who used to do my sound.
Oh
He used
yeah, I
to be
know
there.
Night Bob. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he had ran into Night Bob after I hadn't seen him after a long time, and he said, "What have you been doing?" He asked, Night Bob, "What have you been doing?" And Bob said, "I just got back from a tour with Michael Monroe." I said, "Oh, I love that guy. Give me his phone number." So I got back home, and I was like, "There's a message saying Michael Monroe, Steven Tyler, just wanted to pass on some stuff." I was, "What?" And so then Bob calls me, "Hey, Michael, I'm sorry, I gave your number to Steven. I hope you don't mind." I said, "That's okay. I don't mind." And then I said, "Well, I wonder what he wanted. Hopefully he'll call back." And then he called me again, and he said, he liked my album, Not Faking It. He said, really liked that record. And then he asked if I wanted to play a saxophone solo on big 10-inch record on that song at Les Paul's 75th birthday at the Hard Rock Cafe in New York. Because they were going to play it. They played like a half-hour set with the whole band was like set up there. So I said, "Yeah, sure." I twist my arm. Of course I will come and play. And so I did. I even have that on a video because there was MTV was filming then. So they let me have that song, of course, on the condition that I didn't, spread it around, which I haven't. I gave it to Joe Perry, though, when we opened up for the Hollywood Vampires in Helsinki, so about 2017. And I was almost to the date of the anniversary of that event. But yeah, jamming with Aerosmith, playing the sax solo, doing my best over there, and got on stage. Steven was like, "Where'd you get those lips?" It's like, "You probably bought them in the same store. You got yours, man."
And no doubt, you mentioned MTV a second ago, and I'm curious about this because when Hanoi Rocks first broke up, I believe it was around 85, 86, right? Initially,
our drummer got killed in a car accident in '84 in December, so we broke up like the spring of '85. Finished the band.
And of course, that was tragic when Razzle was lost, and you guys made that decision to end at that point. Was
Yeah.
was that a tough decision to make to end the band at that time? And also, do you think that if you would have continued shortly after that, as so many bands do these days when you see tragedies or band members leaving or whatever, do you think because of what happened with MTV in America, where it became such a big thing? To me, Hanoi Rocks, the sound, the look was so perfectly suited for MTV. Do you think if the band would have hung in there, that the story for Hanoi in America might have been different?
Very possibly. I mean, it's hard to say. It could have been, and it's you know, no point saying if this and if that, but it's very likely we were in a position, and the timing was pretty perfect for us to if the band hadn't broke up, there's a good chance we could have become. Could have all the ingredients were there that we could have become one of the biggest bands in the world, of course. But after Razzle died, Sammy Alpha left the band, so it was like we all, not only lost Razzle, but then Sammy left, and then there was only me and Andy McCoy and Nasty Suicide, and we weren't really in a great state of mind. I mean, the worst thing that to me was losing my best friend, and Razzle was such a great guy, and I was devastated. And we were all devastated, and if if we'd had a break for half a year or a year or something, and then would have come back to it, we could have kept it together maybe. But the guys that were, the management was we were being rushed into continuing and trying to, keep going. And the drummer and bass player that was supposed to come in, they were not wasn't the same band. And I didn't want the world to get to know Hanoi Rocks as that. I wanted them to people to know Hanoi as it was, with the integrity and intact, and the band that wasn't just couldn't be bought. So I wanted to keep it that way, and that's why I wasn't easy for me. It was an easy decision. I thought it wasn't the same anymore. It wasn't the same band, so it was maybe we could have become one of the biggest bands in the world, but it wouldn't have been the same. It would have been even worse in a way, because I would have been. That's not the Hanoi that Hanoi was, with Razzle and Sammy and the whole band. It was like a family and a street gang, and we were like us against the world. And then it would have been just for the money, and that I thought it wasn't worth it. It was better to keep at least one band that couldn't be bought. So
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. It's such a different world now because nobody ends, and you see members that have been in bands for 40, 50 years, and they leave or pass away, and the next day the band's still going. It's kind of hard for me as a fan sometimes to even process that, because but it's just the way the music is. I tell my audience all the time, back in the 70s, back in the 80s, if the bass player didn't show up for a gig, it was like a big deal. If there was a substitute bass player, it was like huge news. Now it's like, well, we just got the guitar tech filling in or whatever, and fans just seem to accept anything thrown at them. They don't even know who's really in the bands anymore. You've got no original member bands. You've got all these things going on. That stuff didn't fly back in the 70s and 80s, really. It was a whole different time.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, to me, it also kind of depends on the band too. I mean, some bands can maybe get away with that, and some bands really I don't see as a fan. I mean, like Dan McCafferty. You were talking about Nazareth earlier. What a singer! I mean, that guy. Outstanding, phenomenal, one of a kind. Nobody sings like that. So that's like the sound of Nazareth. To me, and
or a guy like Steven Tyler or Alice Cooper, people like that we talk to. There are obviously there are key people in certain bands. Yeah, no doubt.
Have Aerosmith without Steven Tyler, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
hey, I also wanted to ask you, Michael, and want to talk more about the new record here in a second and what's coming up. But one other thing about, well, two quick things on Hanoi. First of all, when you talk about the old days, for people that don't know, you worked with Bob Ezrin on a Hanoi Rocks album, on Two Steps from the Move. Yes. I know Bob. I've been lucky enough to have him on this show. He's speaking of Alice, of course, he was so involved in Alice and Kiss and Pink Floyd and so many others. He is known as, and rightfully so, as one of the great producers of all time. He's also known as a guy that's a taskmaster that really pulls and can be tough in the studio. What was, I look at Hanoi Rocks as being such like a loose sort of like in your face, like punky sort of hard rock band. What was it like, Ezrin, trying to wrangle you guys? What was that experience like working with him?
It was a great experience. It was like the best learning experience working with him for all of us. And that's when we kind of we became professionals during that process. and learned, and he knew exactly how to handle the band, how to handle Andy, and Andy reminded him of Glenn Buxton from the Alice Cooper band. He says that, he's a hard case, but he can work with him, and uh, he was really fantastic. He came to see the band, and then he wanted to meet me first, which Andy was kind of like, "Why does he want to meet you? I write most of the songs." He had some pointers. He had seen our show, and he said, "So, Michael, how many times did you get on the PA?" I said, "I don't know, a couple, two or three." He says, "I counted 7." And I said, "Yeah, so, well, if you do it that many times, it loses the impact. If you go there once, you go up there, people go, wow. And the second time, maybe, but after that, you lose
You
the
mean
impact."
climbing on the PA in live shows?
Yeah, yeah, climbing up on the PA on top of it. I do a lot
Right.
of climbing. So it's little things about performance and stuff, and he paid attention to the whole package. How what I do with my hands. People follow your hands, and when you give them time, start clapping and not go so fast and aimless. And if you do something like this and then you do something else with your hands, they follow it. The people get confused, and it's just pointers about the performance, and like the way he saw Alice Cooper, man. The first time he saw Alice, he saw him like Alice's head in a little window going, "Nobody likes me, it's all my fault." And then, "Nobody likes me, nobody likes me." Little movements like that. And so theatrically, it was fantastic. Now to get the music to go with that, then and that was a perfect match. And I think Esrin was thinking he was looking at us like we were reminding him of the Alice Cooper band. We were looking at working with him the next albums as well. It was a long haul. We were in it for that's what it would have been if the band would have stayed together. I mean, he was also really really devastated when the band broke up with the accident and everything. So that was a great experience. I learned a lot. Really learned a lot from him and many things. And he was so funny. He had he had a lot of funny stuff. We were singing the Boiler song. We did 4-part harmonies, and all of a sudden he rushes into. It was like an Animal House. Comes with the fire extinguisher with a bunch of foam, like shh, on all of us, and we're like, everybody else jumped up. And whoa! And Razzle Kid is just standing there with a beer and like, "How you doing, Bobo?" All right. He didn't move at all. He was all covered in foam and. But
He literally sprayed you with foam. Ezrin literally sprayed you with fire extinguisher foam.
Fire extinguisher. Yeah, he came in, like in Animal House. They do. They wake the guys
Yeah.
up and saying he went, our pants like shh, on the, spraying fire extinguisher on us. And it's a lot of. He taught me a cool warm up thing. I remember when I was my voice was shot and I'd been singing a lot, and I says, "Well, I don't feel great. I don't feel like singing today, and my voice is shot and all." And so Bob said, "Okay, come here," and then he showed me this warm-up thing where I could relax my throat and find the lowest note, and breathe, show me how to breathe and just relax and sing at the lowest tone you can get, and it's kind of it massages your vocal cords. And then he said, "Sing like that, sing something like that for an hour. We're going out to dinner." I was up to screw you, man. It's just like, so that, okay, fine. And I started doing that. And after a while, I was like, wait a minute, I feel better. My voice came back. I was like, he was right. He taught me how to, get my voice back by massaging my vocal cords like that. It was like a thing like that. It's a great warm up before a gig and after a gig too, to maintain your voice. And a lot of great pointers for, having to, when you're touring every night, singing every night, doing a gig after gig, how to keep your voice, maintain because guitarists, they break a string, they can, put a new string on, but my body is my instrument. So
Sure.
you got to take care of that.
Yeah.
Really great learning experience. And we were, the plan was to work with him, make the next album and the album after that. And from then on. And so it was really fantastic working with him. I think it was in a little bit different, state of mind compared to what he's been later in the later years. He's very strict. I'm sure. I hear that the tape's got to be rolling by 10 a.m.
Yeah, exactly. He's still at it. Yeah, for sure. Hey, so one other thing, did I hear that you're doing shows? First of all, again, the new album is called "I Live Too Fast to Die Young." It's the latest in an incredible string of records that Michael's made with his own band. Sensory Overdrive was incredible. I mean, there's so many great recent records. But I know you've done touring around Europe for this, and I heard, if this is correct, that there's going to be a special show, I guess, in Finland where you're going to play with your band, but also there will be a Hanoi Rocks reunion at that. Is that correct?
Yeah, the original lineup of Hanoi Rocks will the grand finale of my 60th birthday show celebration, the birthday bash, whatever, is going to be on September 23rd now, in a couple of weeks, and yeah, there'll be, first of all, Demolition 23. That the Demolition 23 will be the opening band. We'll do 5 songs or so. And that album, Demolition 23, is coming out now in October. Little Steven is finally releasing it. It's going to be out on vinyl and CD and digital, every format. And it's never been out on vinyl. That's coming out on October 16th now. Remastered, sounding better than ever. So yeah, that band's going to open up. Then it's my solo stuff. There's going to be some guests and then some surprises. And at the end of it all, what happened was I had Sammy and Nasty are going to be, the Sammy Alpha and Nasty Suicide are going to be, the Demolition 23 part. They're going to be there anyways. And Sammy's in my band, playing the bass. But since they were there, and I met with Jip Casino, the original drummer from Hanoi, in Stockholm last December when we were filming my documentary, which is also in the making. Alice Cooper did a cool interview for that too in Milan.
Oh, so, wow! Yeah, I look forward to that. I didn't know you had a documentary coming. I love docs. When will that be ready?
That's going to be ready in January. At the end of January, it's going to be coming out. It's going to movie theaters and stuff. Yeah, it's going to be. It's called The Best Kept Secret in Rock and Roll, Michael Monroe. And so I met Jip Casino in December. What a cool guy he was. It was nice memories and all. And I invited him over to do something, this other song. But then, and then Andy McCoy, he called me. He invited himself. He said, "I heard you got this 60th birthday celebration. If I have time from my world tours, I may have time to show up, and maybe I'll come and do Tragedy." Okay, whatever. All right, fine. So then I started thinking about it. I said, "Wow, that could be actually cool. All the guys will be there. The original lineup. Why don't we do a few Hanoi songs in the end?" And then we were going to have it as a surprise. And everybody agreed. And then this is the only time to do it, like for the right reasons. And then I thought that'd be exciting. And then Sammy Alpha told me one night, she says, "Are you sure you don't want to let people know ahead of time? Because the fans find out about this later on afterwards, they're going to be pissed off." So I said, "You're right. Yeah, we should let people know." So, it was the ice hall in Helsinki. It was already over half sold out, but then we had this press conference and had Jip Casino come over too. All 5 of us did last Tuesday, and it was fun. And we announced that we're going to be the end of the show will be the original lineup doing the set of Hanoi songs, and the next day it was all sold out, and everybody wants to be there. Yeah,
do you think it leads, Michael? Do you think it leads to more if the vibe is good and the night goes well? Would you consider doing a tour with Hanoi or do more shows?
No, no. This would be just one time, time. Special.
You worry that just things wouldn't be. You'd worry that the vibe would go bad, or
it's not. I mean, we're going to rehearse for 2 days. I just, and then. Hopefully, we haven't seen it. It was surreal to be with everybody right there, and like all 5 of us together after 40 years.
Yeah,
it was amazing. It felt really cool, actually. It was fun, and yeah, I think
it starts like this, though, Michael. Rock history throughout time is like like the Kiss reunion in '96. Well, that was just to do the acoustic thing, and then there they go. I put Twisted Sister back together. Then they went out for 13 years. They said no, only one charity thing, and that was it. So you never know, man. You can never say never.
No, I say never say never say never.
How about playing in America with the solo band? I know you tried to get over here a couple times, but COVID got in the way on some stuff, and I know you've been wanting to come over and play. Where are things at for you guys getting to the States? Because your solo band is so killer and the shows are so great. Do you have a plan to try to get over here?
Yeah, well, that's one reason also. And I don't need the Hanoi thing, my current band is the best band I could hope for. I have a great time with these guys. They're my best friends, and we have a really, like the new album, it's only getting better. And yeah, we've been, the States is a bit of a challenge because like I've said before, it's really a big expense to go on tour there. If you do play just, clubs and, New York, East Coast, West Coast, always good, but Midwest is such a big area and such a big country that we would have to get on tour, get to open up for a real big stadium act for a year or two, and then maybe somebody would notice. So that's otherwise it's just you just lose a bunch of money and you go nowhere slow that way. So it's a challenge. We were supposed to do the Monsters of Rock cruise, and because of COVID, it was postponed twice now. And next year, hopefully, we'll get to do it. But other gigs right now, it doesn't look like, unfortunately, because I love American audiences. You got like rock and roll is like part of the culture there, and everybody you appreciate two guitar bands like Aerosmith and Stones and like Hanoi was and what we do is like I know this is the right kind of music for America, so it's quite frustrating. It's just hard to, and especially these days when rock and roll is not the biggest, it's not in fashion, so to speak. With there's all this hip hop and country and whatever is the biggest thing over there. So I mean, even rock bands are having to do these tours, tours joining together, three bands or whatever. I mean, we're doing our best to keep good rock and roll alive, and but yeah, it's a bit of a challenge, unfortunately. I wish I really would like to play there, but we'll have to
Yeah.
see.
Oh, I hope so, because having seen you on the cruise a few times and in other settings, it's always an incredible show, and it's incredible what you at the very young age, still of 60 years old, are still able to do. Man, you get it done every time, and if you get the opportunity to see Michael Monroe and his band. My buddy Steve Conti's been in your band for a while. Of course, he's great as well, and just a killer group. Yeah, go see him. And I hope you can get over. Us as fans, we're selfish. We forget there's a lot of expense when you're coming from another country. It's not cheap, especially right now in America. But I hope that can change and that you can get over here.
Hopefully, yeah. Hopefully there's a way to do it in a good way, and getting to open up for somebody, one of these. Somebody cool and big, and there's a lot of but I mean,
well, Guns N' Roses doesn't stop. Michael, Guns N' Roses doesn't stop touring. They haven't stopped for 6-7 years. You've got to. They love you. They released the Hanoi records. Get Axel on the phone. Tell him to take Michael Monroe out as the special guest for GNR on the next run.
That would be great. I would be there in a second if tell them that. We opened up for them actually in London this summer. We played in London at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. But actually the first show we were supposed to do two shows, and first show was we were supposed to start playing at 4:30. From 4:30 to 5 was our slot, and then they didn't open the doors. Doors were supposed to open at 3 and or 3:30 at the latest, and there was a delay. I'm still not sure why, but apparently, like Axel had problems with his voice, or somewhere it said he had an anxiety attack or something. That they didn't open the doors for 2 hours. People were outside with no toilets and no water and stuff, and they were kind of pissed. We were waiting on. We were ready to go, like 4:30, ready to play, and then there was only these security people in an empty stadium, and they said, well, we're not going to let you play to an empty stadium. I said, okay, we'll wait. And then about 5 to 5, we were told that, okay, you're not going to play. Your slot went past it. They couldn't open the doors because they didn't, I guess they didn't know whether Guns N' Roses were going to play. And if they had let people in, and if then it turned out that they wouldn't play, they were afraid it could be a riot or something like that. So, but 5:15, the doors opened. And then the other opening act, Gary Clark Jr., they got to play their set. So I was like, okay, the greatest show we ever almost did.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's terrible. And I've heard of that happening. I've gotten calls to this show recently from fans who were frustrated because they wanted to go see a band that was third on the bill, and they can't get in. As you said, the doors aren't open, so they really wanted to see the band, but they physically couldn't get in the venue because of whatever delays. So that actually happened to you. That's terrible.
Yeah, we missed our slot, so we didn't play the first night. But the second night, everything went well. They opened the doors on time, and we did play, and we rocked harder than to make up for the night before. It was a great show, but it was like 4:30 to 5 in the afternoon. There was a bunch of people there. People liked it, and it was a perfect combination because I think it worked good with those guys. It would be great to tour with Guns N' Roses. I would love to go on tour with them for a world tour for a year or two, and I'm there, man. If they just, but it's up to them, you know. They know where to find me. If you know,
Yeah,
but really,
yeah.
I was second night was great, and they were the first night they were a little late, but there was I thought it was really good. People said, you know, Axel had problems with his voice. I thought it sounded great. I thought it was fantastic. And second night, he said maybe himself because the night after. The second night when we played, the next day they were supposed to play Glasgow, and that show was canceled because of voice problems. So I think then he probably had some problems with his voice.
Right.
But, I thought they were great. You know, they were really, really cool and really good. I'm glad they're out there and, you know, rock and roll these days. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. We need all those bands filling those stadiums for sure.
yeah,
Well, listen,
thank
buddy,
God
I got to,
for your guitar, you know, yeah.
yeah, I got to run, man. It's great to see you. It's great to talk to you. And again, congrats on the latest album. Again, it's out now. It's killer. It's called I Live Too Fast to Die Young. If you love straight up kick-ass hard rock, you will not be disappointed. And honestly, Michael, I've been saying it for a while. This is just the latest in a string of great records. Your last 2, 3, 4 records have been incredible. So keep up the great work, and it's great to talk to you.
Thank you so much, and thanks for having me. It's great talking to you too. Anytime, let me know. I'll be on your show anytime you want. This is a great
Appreciate
pleasure.
it.
Yes.
I hope to be at one of your shows, seeing you do what you do, hopefully soon. So hopefully you can get over here and rock. I look forward to seeing you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. God bless you.
कैसे भूल पैगो जान बगिया उतलैया हो अचके में आके ओ पकड़ल हमर बहिया हो कैसे भूल